Hi everybody, Gary Francione for the Abolitionist Approach. My friend, Professor Gary Steiner from Bucknell University Philosophy Department.
Howdy.
We thought we would talk today with you for a few minutes about the idea that less suffering is better than more suffering. We all agree with that, and no one would disagree with that. And the welfarists use that to maintain that we ought to pursue welfare reform and happy exploitation because it's consistent with the idea that less suffering is better than more suffering. And we thought we would share some ideas with you. First thing I would say is that, yeah, we all agree that less suffering is better than more suffering. We would all agree that a slave owner, it's better for a slave owner to beat a slave 9 times a week rather than 10 times a week. But there's a big difference between saying it's better to do less harm rather than more and saying that it's a good thing for people to engage in the lesser sort of harm, so that we praise people who beat their slaves 9 times a week, or we give them awards as some of the animal groups do with animal exploiters and things like that. What do you think? Do you agree?
I do agree. I've used in a couple of analogies in my own work about this. One that I used at Cal Berkeley a few years ago was this. It was the analogy to sex slavery and saying, would it be better to have sex slaves who have proper medical care and comfortable beds than sex slaves who don't have either of those
Great
things?
example.
Yeah, and in the narrow utilitarian confines of that kind of abstract calculation, it makes a certain sense, but it completely begs the question, in the same way as the animal suffering question, as to whether we should be engaging in the practice in the first place.
Yeah, and if you treat the sex slaves better, and people start giving you awards, and they say, well, you're a better sex slaver, and and you're doing normatively what you ought to do, that would be very bizarre. None of us would think that that's a good idea, but that's exactly what animal welfare does every single day. The idea here is that people who believe in animal rights, people who believe that animals matter morally, ought to be clear that there is an imperative to go vegan, that we have a moral obligation to go vegan. If somebody hears that message and wants to do less, and wants to be a reducitarian or a meat-free Monday person, or to buy happy meat at Whole Foods or whatever, let them do that. Let them make the choice. But that should be their decision. It should never be the case that animal people are saying that that's a normatively good thing to do.
And as we were talking about earlier, it also begs the question, that kind of reasoning, it's sort of or maybe begs the question is not the right way to put it. It just fails to come to grips with the fact that this is a practice we don't need to be engaging in
Exactly.
in the very first place. So do people even need to inflict any kind of cruelty on animals? Do people need to eat animals? Do people need to kill them in more humane ways? I mean, that utilitarian orientation just refuses or fails to recognize what an oxymoron humane killing or humane slaughter is.
Absolutely. And, so the choice is not between inflicting more harm or less harm. There's a third choice, and the third choice is you go vegan. You don't inflict the harm at all. So once you've set it up as, well, I've got a choice of either eating a conventional egg or a free, cage-free egg. It says, no, you've got a third choice. You don't eat any eggs at all. And so when the welfare say, yeah, but people are going to continue to eat eggs, the answer is we ought to be educating them about why they ought not to be eating any eggs and why veganism is a moral imperative for anybody who agrees that animals matter morally and are not just things. Again, if they want to do something different, if they want to do something less than go vegan, if they want to eat cage-free eggs or crate-free pork or whatever they want, that's a decision they ought to make. It's never something we should be advising them to do.
No, that's right. And the other thing I like to think about the utilitarian argument is this. A utilitarian will be inclined to say, tell me exactly at a logical level what is wrong with the argument. And the answer is, it's not the logic. The internal logic of the argument is unimpeachable, but the problem is that people who offer that argument are not coming from a space of sort of detached objectivity. They're coming from a space of wanting to justify the practice in advance. And it's an argument that is a bit of a kind of a trick that is designed to justify or rationalize the practice, rather than taking the standpoint of objectivity that utilitarians purport to be taking. Because it's not objective at all. It's coming from a standpoint of wanting in advance to justify the consumption of animal products.
Absolutely. Well, look, it's easy to go vegan. Absolutely. It's better for you, it's better for the planet, and most importantly, it's better for the animals. It's very easy. Go to our website, howdoigovegan.com. And thank you, Gary, very much for joining me.
Happy to be here. Go vegan.
Go vegan.